Thank you everyone for turning out. It's a great turnout today. Let's make a start. Welcome to today's webinar, everyone. It's called Leadership Lessons, and it's going to be presented by my colleague and co-director, Steve Price. My name's Steve Richardson. I'm a director at Inspire, and I'm going to be a moderator today. A little bit of housekeeping for those who haven't been on a Zoom before, which I guess will be not too many of you. Let's just take a closer look at the controls. So here you've got your audio settings. So you can select and just test your speakers. Hopefully you can hear me, so you won't need to adjust those. You can submit any questions that you have via the Q&A button. Yeah, just bang away at those, and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. We'll hopefully answer all your questions. And if for any reason you need to leave the meeting, then it's on the right-hand bottom there. Just click leave meeting, and you can rejoin again if need be, using the original link to the webinar. Okay, so let's get on with it. I'm really looking forward to it. Good morning, Steve Price, our presenter for today.
Morning, Steve. Thanks very much for your introduction, and thanks to everybody for once again giving us your time this afternoon for our what is now pretty much a monthly webinar. So straight into it, I want to encourage you all to take notes, and as well as Steve's already said, submit the questions that you've got. There will be questions. We want to answer them. We want to see what you're thinking, what responses you've got. So submit your questions as Steve has indicated, and right at the end we're going to save some time just to answer those, because at the end of the day, that's the way you're going to get most out of this presentation this afternoon. Okay, let's get started. So let's start off with a quote from Simon Sinek. The courage of leadership is giving others the chance to succeed, even though you bear the responsibility for getting things done. That's what Simon Sinek said. And I think it's important to remember that responsibility and doing are not the same thing. So you're responsible as the leader, but you have to be able to empower your team to do the bulk of the work. That is really the cusp of what we're going to be talking about over the next 45 minutes or so. Let's have a look at the agenda. But before I do, I do just want to throw in what is now our usual disclaimer. This is general information. We try and provide an educational webinar. I don't want you to see this in any way as a substitute for tailored advice, which would be therefore specific to your particular circumstances. This is just general information. I think we need to say that, but I also think you all know that by now. So let's have a look at the agenda. So we're going to have a look at important leadership roadblocks, the essentials for great leadership, and key leadership lessons. We'll also cover some powerful mindsets to help you inspire and engage your own team. We're going to have a look at identifying processes and rhythms that you can implement to improve your leadership within your own business. And I'm also going to show you quite a powerful tool that you can use to assess your own leadership skills. So dare you take the test. We're going to make this tool available for you at the end. We've got a survey. You know how it works by now. You'll be taken to a screen. I'm going to show you through it. If you like the idea and you're willing to take the test, over to you. You're very welcome to. And then to finish off, as usual, we're going to cover what your next steps might be and throw in some suggestions of how we can help. So again, as questions arise, put them in and we'll be able to answer them right at the end. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with leadership roadblocks. Now, on the screen here are some of the most common leadership roadblocks. So often as leaders, we point the fingers or we can lay blame on others if we get poor performance. But the reality, as confronting as it may be, is that we need to look in the mirror and review our own leadership. So after all, we can only control our own behavior. Let's have a look at what can be some of our own roadblocks. We all have great improvement opportunities, and a key attribute of a great leader is recognizing we can always do better. So with an open mind, positive change is more likely to happen. Let's start to go through them then. Firstly, no formal leadership training. Most of us have fallen into our leadership roles with no formal training. Leadership skills can and must be learned, and that learning never stops. Lack of clarity or alignment. So often there's no clear, documented and shared plan. And without that, there can be a lack of alignment between the business owners as well as team members being unclear on how their role or even their career goals fit into those business goals. Poor communication. This is a common one. There may be a plan, but if it's not widely shared or reported against, it's unlikely to be implemented if there's poor communication. Business purpose and core values are not articulated or lived into. So knowing why your business exists and what values you operate under provides a clear framework for team success. So I'll share our core purpose with you. Well, I'll come back and I'll share our core purpose in a few minutes. Likewise, we have core values that drive our behavior as a team. I'm going to share one of our core values now. And the one I've chosen to share with you is making an impact, which we at Inspire define as inspiring ourselves and others to improve lives for the better. So we reckon our team know our purpose and values, and they act as guiding principles in the work that we all do. And then finally, what we might call an us and them attitude. Leadership is about owners and the team working side by side to produce outcomes that individuals could not achieve on their own. If a business has an us and them attitude, they tend to have a high team turnover, possibly low job satisfaction, and inevitably poor results. Okay, so maybe let's start to flip those roadblocks on their head. Here are what we consider to be the essentials of great leadership, the building blocks and the framework that you need to have in place. Okay, first of all, no prizes for guessing. Having a plan and a vision. Your plan sets out where you want to go as a business with specific goals and actions for the next 90 days and clarity on the next year, on the next 365 days. This plan isn't a static document. You should refer to it often and update it quarterly. Now, one way or another, we talk about planning, business planning in every single presentation that we do. There are no apologies for putting it right at the top of leadership, because a leader needs a plan. Number two, share it with the team. So your plan then needs to be shared regularly with the team meetings. There's no point in producing a plan and then leaving it in the bottom drawer. Next one, ensure your team aligns their goals with yours. So again, great leadership is about taking your team on a journey. If they know what your goals are, they can match theirs to yours. And this will increase the energy and the motivation for all. Coming on to my favorite word, we need to put accountability in place. And this can be done through reportings and meetings. You must put accountability in place. And by this, we mean reporting and meetings, not a carrot and stick. So, okay, let's have a look at the traditional view of accountability is that you set targets and expectations. We can call these KPIs, key performance indicators. And then if a team member doesn't hit them, there are consequences. They might lose out on a bonus, or they might be put through performance management. But it's far more effective to simply report against the targets and meet regularly to discuss them, embedding team members into the process to get clearer on what expectations are and to learn to self-monitor their own performance, as well as better communicating their own roadblocks back to you. So at Inspire, we have KPIs at 3 levels: at company level, at departmental level, and also at individual team member level. Our managers go out of their way to take the carrot and stick element out of our KPI management. As far as we see it, they are all shared targets, and our managers are there to support the team reach their own individual targets. Next one, inspire the team. Think about the most charismatic leaders in the world. Their actions and behaviors inspire others to change, evolve, and become better versions of themselves. So you need to start aligning yourself with those leaders today. What can you take from them to help you inspire your team? And finally, walk the talk, which is incidentally another one of our core values. Just throwing that in. Walking the talk is perhaps the most important point. Do as I do, as perhaps the more traditional adage of do as I say. Okay, so now that we're clearer on the roadblocks towards getting our great team performance and the foundations for great leadership, it's time to share some of our leadership lessons. And I reckon some of these leadership lessons can be remembered by the acronym Just For Me, as you can see on screen, as they're all things that as a leader, really you should be looking to control. So if you can remember Just For Me, based upon you being able to control it, all the things that we're going to work through fall out of that acronym. So first of all, just do it. JDI. So often we fail to implement ideas because other things just get in the way. So JDI, sometimes referred to as JFDI, if you want to add increased emphasis, I'll let you work out for yourself what that F might mean, reminds us to get out of our own way, get over our own limiting beliefs, and just be the great leader we can be. U is for united vision and values. I've already touched on this slightly. Your vision is where you want to take the business, and your values are the filters through which you determine your behavior. When the entire team is aligned on these vision and values, you create a strong workplace culture and an environment for continuous improvement. So having a united vision and values is a cornerstone of your great leadership. S is for safety. Okay, so neuroscience researchers argue that humans did not evolve to be consistently happy, but primarily we simply evolved to survive and reproduce. So as leaders, our role is to ensure that our team is fundamentally safe, and we are safe both emotionally and physically. So what are you doing to improve your team's emotional and physical safety right now? Perhaps more importantly, what more could you be doing? T is for teamwork and trust. So I think this is called a backronym. The backronym for team comes out of together, everyone achieves more. And I think you've probably heard that somewhere before. So surround yourself with people who are much smarter than you in different ways, and then use your collective expertise to bring results that you couldn't achieve on your own. Build a culture of trust by practicing what you teach, living into your core values, and doing what you say you'll do. It sounds easy, doesn't it? F is for focus. So once we have a clear idea of the vision and the plan, and we've shared it with our team, we can all focus on our individual contribution. So that plan helps us to identify, let's say, the 2 or 3 most important activities that we need to do for each of us to work on, and the results that we then expect to achieve. And that will help us establish what success looks like for each of us. O is for opportunity. Every challenge or difficult situation presents us with an opportunity to do better. So for example, if we have a poor performing team member, we have an opportunity to support them better, to remove any barriers to them operating better. Or if we can't achieve alignment and improve results, the ability to, let's say, open the door of opportunities for them. And by that, of course, I mean help them realize that their best opportunities may lie elsewhere. R is for resilience and resourcefulness. So resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. Resourcefulness is the ability to find quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties. Now, as a leader, it's your job to build resilience both for yourself and your team at the same time. and also use your team as the primary resource to overcome any future difficult situations. It's a lot easier said than done, but that is the role, the duty that befalls a manager. Coming to the end now, M is for mindset. Your mindset is the attitude you bring to your role. So for instance, you might have an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset as a leader. And actually after this slide, as I've already shown you in the agenda, we are going to be covering 5 of these key mindsets, which will help you in a little bit more detail. Finally then, E is for empathy and energy. And I reckon our last leadership lesson is perhaps the most important. Empathy is the ability to see things from another person's perspective and be prepared to do something about it. So for example, if we see somebody is struggling to do their job, an empathetic leader will seek first to understand why that team member is struggling, to offer support and training as opposed to complaining about their performance, maybe to others. There might be valid reasons why the team member is not performing. Increasing our empathy for others and living into these leadership lessons increases energy across the team and the whole business. Think how energized you feel when things are going well. So we can use some of these lessons as a way to build energy across the business. And that way, we're going to hopefully get improved results for all. So just remember, just for me. And I'm sure if you can remember that, you'll remember all the breakdown of what it stands for in that acronym. Okay, so let's move on to mindsets then. Your mindset is the attitude that you bring to work. Having the right mindset is obviously a very important leadership lesson. I don't think I can stress that enough. Mindset is where it starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to share 5 important particular mindsets to help you in your leadership role. Now, of course, there are so many more leadership mindsets we could share with you. But what I've done is I've just picked out what I reckon are the top 5. I'm not suggesting they are the top 5, just in my opinion, I think they're most applicable for this presentation today. And of these 5, I use them, and in fact more as well. I use them when I'm working with the clients that I coach. And what they do is they provide a framework for better thinking. They can be used as tools to share with your team to get better results. So as I'm going through the next few slides, by all means, grab yourselves a screenshot of those you think that you can use as I go through them. So I'm going to briefly explain the 5 mindsets, but the best way to learn and implement these is through ongoing discussion and revision of them. So I'd encourage you to ask about any of these with us when you're on your next phone call with us or in future meetings with us. Okay, let's have a look at what they are then. So the first of the mindsets that I've chosen is all about the importance of having an abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset. So I reckon this mindset is a must for all leaders as it enables you to get the best from your team members. So let me try and explain what I mean by that. A scarcity mentality starts from a place of distrust, with leaders neglecting the team and believing there's no way the team would do a job as well as they could do it themselves. These leaders are skeptical and frustrated, criticizing the team and creating stress throughout the business. They'll be distracted from their own work as they fail to delegate and cause bottlenecks. This results in mediocrity and even poor results. And I think you may all be familiar with this in one way or another throughout your careers, and it's often referred to as micromanaging. On the other hand, an abundance mentality comes from a place of trust, appreciating and respecting the team and having confidence in them to get the job done and to do it well. So an abundance mindset also encourages development among a team, which this is going to contribute to better engagement, better job satisfaction, and hopefully overall loyalty. This all leads to improved delegation and focus. So the leader, you, can then prioritize making quality decisions, ultimately leading to success and the positive outcomes that you want. So leaders with an abundance mindset believe that if the team wins, they'll win too. Do you have the abundance mindset? So this one might be very familiar to all of you. Our second leadership mindset is possibly the most powerful business model I reckon that's probably ever been written, and it's Orbed. The Orbed mindset is one of the easiest ways to transform your business's culture and team performance. And for those of you who've worked with me, you'll know it's something I refer to all the time, and it's something that we promote right throughout the team here at Inspire. So let me just talk through it briefly. When acting above the line, we take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for our actions. That's the A, the O, the A, and the R. As a leader, it's particularly essential that we act above the line. Leaders must also clearly articulate their expectations for the team to also act above the line, because there's no hierarchy within the Orbed mindset. Your team should be comfortable calling you out for acting below the line, as well as holding each other accountable to above the line behavior. So let's consider an example of where above the line behavior has an impact on your business outcomes. So let's say a deadline has been missed. Would you want your team to blame others, or perhaps technology, make excuses about not having enough time or information, or deny knowledge of the deadline? Or should they take ownership of their actions? Should they hold themselves accountable and take responsibility for fixing the issue? I think the answer is obvious. So when acting above the line, your team is more inclined to work together to find a solution. They can act as a safety net for each other rather than throwing each other under the bus. Issues get resolved faster, less rework occurs, broken processes get found and fixed, and implementing a plan is far, far easier. This way of thinking generally delivers a better set of robust processes in a business. And they're born out of us taking the responsibility to learn from our mistakes and prevent them recurring. Our third leadership mindset is all about defining and living into your purpose. Now, again, for anybody who doesn't know, your purpose is why your business exists for your clients. Most businesses first describe what it is they do, followed by how they do it. They often fail to talk about why the business exists for their customers. And hopefully this is portrayed here in the golden circle. It's important to communicate from the inside out, building an emotional connection with your customers. So how do you describe your why or purpose? Well, very briefly, this should be around 5 to 7 words defining why you exist for your customers. When you have a clear purpose that your team understands, it's much easier to achieve an alignment of thinking. So let me give you an example. Let me give you an example right here at Inspire. Our purpose is crunching numbers, inspiring business, and improving lives. And you'll see it emblazoned on our corporate logo. Now that phrase there, that right there is our what, our how, and our why. Crunching numbers is what we do. We are accountants. We are known for crunching numbers and have for centuries. That has been our role. That is what we do. Inspiring business, now that describes our approach. This is how we try to differentiate ourselves from our competition. And I would say this webinar today, this right here and now, is one example of how our approach comes through. This is us inspiring business, hopefully, and acting out our how. Improving lives captures why we exist. So let me explain that from Inspire's point of view. It would be easy for us just to rely on the fact that our clients have to produce accounts just to stay compliant, just to stay legal. But we want to do more than that. The why behind our business comes from the point of our belief that your business numbers, your accounts, are a great business tool to help you develop the business you want and ultimately improve your lives. Perhaps improve your lives, perhaps improve the lives of your team. And that is our why. That is our true purpose. We don't stop at, yes, the accounts are at company's house, job done. Our why goes beyond that. So when our team live into the purpose, we're able to provide even greater success for our clients and our team. And then you can start to talk about the how. Perhaps that's your unique selling point or your brand promise or whatever it might be. And when customers understand both your why and your how, you can then start to discuss the what. Now, the what is the products or the services you offer to achieve your why. It's important that it works in that direction, out of the golden circle, from the why through the how to the what. And most of you will have now worked out that what I'm really talking about here is the concept of starts with why, put forward by Simon Sinek. But it's really something that we believe in, so much so that when a new client comes on board here at Inspire, we actually send out the Starts With Why book to them. It's part of our welcome pack. And what we're hoping is that they can start to align how they feel about their business with how we do, and we can help them much more from that point on. So the golden circle really is a really powerful mindset. Let's move on to the next one. Our fourth leadership mindset helps us achieve better results across the entire business. It's a reminder that having a clearly defined vision and goals across the team brings energy to our work. So it's simply described as the 4 leadership quadrants. You can see them here on screen. Let's talk through them. The first quadrant is your vision. We've talked about it already in this presentation. Your vision comes from your business plan, the future state of your business. You will have a vision for your business and a vision for each team member. Second quadrant is energy. How much energy do you bring to your business when you walk in the door? Because energy levels are infectious. If you have a low energy level, your team will respond with low energy. So you need to ensure you bring positive energy every time you walk through that front door to help inspire and motivate your team. If needs be, fake it until you become what you have to. The third quadrant is focus. This ensures your team understands the purpose of their role, that they know when they've had a great day at work, and that their outputs are helping the team achieve the overall vision. So think about your objectives, the way the team communicates, and how you structure your meetings. Because with better focus and planning, you can start to help influence maximizing those outcomes. And the fourth quadrant is empowerment. Now, this here has been my personal focus internally Inspire for the last 6 months. As leaders, we need to empower our team, training and supporting them to do a great job, giving both constructive and positive feedback, delegating to them without dictating how they meet an objective or abdicating responsibility for the outcome. True delegation requires a clear handover of processes while encouraging improvement ideas and taking overall responsibility for the outcome. And it's a fabulous way to reduce bottlenecks in your business and empower your team. But look, to do this properly and effectively, you are really going to have to understand the difference between what is empowerment and what is just delegation. Okay, to the final leadership mindset. This is about aligning your team members' goals with your business goals and creating a way forward for the entire team. So this one's called Now, Where, How. So first, determine where your business is right now. Be honest with this assessment. So let's have a look at what's your current financial position? How many hours are you working? What is your current role? And perhaps even what is the value of your business? A true, honest assessment of where you are now. Then establish the future vision for your business. So in 5 years' time, what do you want your financial position to be? How many hours do you want to be working? What does your role look like? And perhaps even, what do you want the value of your business to be? And then finally, step 3, set a plan to get from where you are now to where you want to be in the future. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But you need to identify the projects you need to undertake and the actions you need to complete. Obviously, this is going to include setting KPIs and establishing a reporting framework so that you can monitor your progress towards your goals. And as I always say, you then really, to cement that, you need to engage somebody who's external to hold you accountable to ensure you reach that future vision. So these 3 steps outline the now, the where, and the how. It's a very simple process in essence. So follow the same process with your team, identifying where each team member is now, where they want to be in the future, and implement a plan to help them get there. We call them personal development plans here at Inspire. Demonstrate how their plan fits in with the wider business vision to ensure that their goals are aligned. Okay, so that wraps up our top 5 leadership mindsets. And I reckon they can help you, each one of them can help you to take positive steps in your own leadership. The truth is, we've got, I think, over 25 others that we could share with you. So if you like these, well, as much as Steve and I do, please talk to us more about them in our meetings, and we can start to explore more as well. Okay, so now we know the top leadership lessons and leadership mindsets. Let's get some practical ways that we can embed better leadership into our working day. Okay, so first off, I have talked about this before, but I'm gonna bring it into the concept of leadership, and that is what we call the 10 hats organization structure. Okay, so what do I mean by 10 hats? Well, no matter what the size of your business, there are 10 hats that still need to be worn. So let me briefly talk through them. So first of all, we've got the shareholder or the owner hat. We've got the director hat, and then the leadership hat, which all fall under what we would call business strategy. And then we have the operational hats, which are product or maybe service development. We've got marketing, we've got sales operations, and then the ones we always need to have, finance, HR, and then the admin and the tech hats. Our clients typically get far better results when they can define which hats they want to wear, which hats they can take off, and how they can enable other team members to wear some of these different hats. So for example, you could outsource the marketing, the finance, or even the tech hats to free up some more time. And likewise, you might get better results by having someone other than you leading the operations department. It's important to realize that even a one-man band company still has these 10 hats. It's just that all those hats are worn by the same person. But the critical thing here is that you still have to recognize what those hats or those roles are if you're ever going to grow. Next, clearly defined job descriptions. It's crucial that all team members are clear on their individual roles. I think this goes without saying. A clearly defined job description with key tasks and KPIs documented against them is the best way to define a great day's work for everyone on the team. 6 monthly performance review and goal setting. So look, we've got templates that we can help you with for these performance reviews and goal setting within your team that we use here. Provided you do this regularly, it's a very positive process. If you only do performance reviews with poorly performing team members, then it all comes out as a very negative process and can be damaging for your team. It's important to balance the positive with the negative in these reviews. Appropriate meeting reporting and rhythms. So what do I mean by that? Well, meetings without reporting can often be a waste of time. They either become a meeting of discovery when information is provided at the time, or the team is left in the dark as to whether or not they're on track to targets. The rhythm, in this case, refers to how often the meetings happen, so the schedule, if you like. So for example, directors should meet monthly, maybe for a few hours, to review business performance. Operational team members may have a daily or a weekly meeting to clarify the work that needs to be done that day or week. And your team management, your management team may meet weekly to ensure clear communication across all of the business. Now, these meetings can be virtual or in person, depending on what works best for you. this is just an example. These are our rhythms. This is how we operate at Inspire. And then finally here, I've put atomic leadership habits. Pull this all together to create new and better habits. These might be new leadership habits related to the leadership lessons or the mindsets that we've been looking through already this morning. Or they might simply be making your meeting rhythms habitual instead of ad hoc. It's key to establish and maintain these great leadership habits over the long term. And now here, some of you may recognize that what I'm referring to is straight out of a book called Atomic Habits. That's by James Clear. It's one that I read last year. I don't know if you're aware of it or perhaps you've read it. Please comment and let us know if you have. I recommend this as great reading for any leader in any context. It really is well worth your time to read that book. James Clear, Atomic Habits. And so all of this leads me nicely now into a practical tool that I mentioned earlier on, which you can use to assess what you need to do to become a better leader. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so we've got the target on the screen in front of you. This tool pulls together the leadership lessons, the mindsets, the processes, and the rhythms I've discussed. So for each of the 8 abilities on the wheel, what you need to do in this assessment is rank yourself from 0 to 10, 0 being terrible and 10 being outstanding. So starting at the top, the first ability is being able to foster trusting relationships. Consider the things you do to build a strong relationship with your team. Do you take time out to engage with each team member and take a genuine interest in their well-being and their own interests? Next, moving clockwise, we have been able to influence and being open to being influenced. So how well do you listen to understand instead of listening to reply? Are you curious and open to hearing other people's opinions? Do you implement other suggestions and praise them for the resulting success? Do you share new learnings with your team? How would you score yourself out of 10 for all those questions? Then we have been able to take risks and confront reality. Now, part of this is being vulnerable and admitting mistakes, recognizing that mistakes are an opportunity for learning. So do you look for opportunities arising out of the difficult times? Do you take time out to reflect, to plan and work on your business? Now, I'll be honest, for this one, you're going to need to have the Orbed mindset on board in place before you can even begin to accommodate this. That's why Orbed is so key. The next key ability is allowing others to learn from their mistakes. Do you recognize opportunities to delegate and encourage others to what we might call stretch? Is your work environment one where team members feel safe, trying new things, and sometimes even making mistakes? If your culture reflects this, your team will be more inclined to innovate and find better ways of doing things, all while being confident enough to admit that if they make a mistake, and they're proactive enough to remedy it fast. It's all about setting that right environment. How do you fit in that in your own leadership model? As a leader, one of your key roles is to deliver results. We're at the bottom of the target now. What do you do to ensure you deliver results for your business and for your team? Do you set realistic goals and actions? Do you have regular meetings to help dissolve your team's roadblocks and possibly reduce the bottlenecks? Do you keep the business on track to achieving its goals? I'd ask you to be harsh in judging yourself. And as I say, judge yourself out of 10 as part of this overall assessment. Next, you need to be able to you need to be able to clarify your expectations and motivate your team. So we all know communication is the key to effective leadership. Do you undertake a regular performance review and goal setting section with each team member? Is your team engaged in the work they're doing? Do you make sure their roles play to their strengths and allow them to develop skills? Then, how do you rank your ability to keep commitments and extend trust? Can people rely on you to do what you say you'll do? Do you stick to your scheduled meetings and try to avoid cancelling? Do you have an open door policy so your team feels comfortable coming in with the questions they may have or to ask for help? And finally, do you create transparency? Excuse me. Do you create transparency, and do you inspire confidence? So do you have documented core values? And if you do you live into them? And do you share examples of your team living into them? Do you regularly recognize strengths and good work? Do you give your people the credit they deserve? As a leader, your success is a direct reflection of the success your team achieves. Okay, so here's just one example of what a leader's wheel may look like once you've completed the assessment. It allows you to see what areas you need to focus your energy on and to create better results. Obviously, the results will be very individual to you, but it gives you a strategy to move forward from there in your own leadership. And if you're interested in doing this assessment after the webinar, we've got that exit survey. You've seen it before. We direct you to a survey page. Hit the button. We're more than happy to forward it on to you with no cost, which is nice. Okay. So with all that in mind, what are the next steps? Our aim is to help you take what you've learned today and hopefully implement some positive change within your business. So what are your next steps? Well, I reckon, and I do say this almost monthly, it's the same principle. I reckon you should start by writing down your 3 most important actions as a result of what we've talked through today. So you've invested, I don't know, something close to an hour, or you will have done by the time this finishes. You've invested an hour of your time. So you've already committed yourself to something. You need to go on now and commit yourself to action so you get something out of it. I reckon we've shared lots of key leadership lessons today, so it's important to ask yourself how you stack up against those lessons. The leadership assessment tool that I've just shown you is going to help you answer that question. Are you prepared to take it? And as mentioned, having a clear plan is one of the most important leadership tools for you and for your team. This plan needs to articulate your business purpose, your vision, and it also should be providing the 2, 3, 4 key goals that you want to achieve this year. Your team can then align their personal development plans and their goals to your plan. This enables you to focus on what you can do as opposed to worrying about what is out of your control. And of course, we're always here to help you along this journey. So let me just demonstrate how we might be able to help you. We always put this slide on. I'm desperately trying not to sell to you, but we are here. And as you can see, we provide free resources as well as those for which would be more involved and we'd need to charge for. Again, I'll just say to you that this webinar is general in nature. So if you want specific support and hand-holding, some of you won't need it, but if you do want that, these are the reach out points which we can help you with. So we can provide you with that complimentary leadership self-assessment worksheet. We can email that out to you, so you've got yourself a starting point. And then, of course, the fundamental key, cornerstone is the business planning. So I've put that in as well. It can improve all of those leadership areas we've covered today. So we want to get a clarified purpose, vision, and values. And then that runs right through to planning and goal alignment within your team. And of course, there's little point in a plan on its own without it being implemented and kept active throughout the year. So we can provide coaching to keep you accountable to that plan. Or if you're just not sure, or we've said something that is of interest to you today, by all means, you can opt to take a complimentary meeting. Steve or I or one of the members of the team will be more than happy to talk through any of this content in more detail with you. Steve, can you bring yourself back off mute? I don't know, have we had any questions while we've been going through?
Yes, we have, Steve. We've got 3 at the moment, but please keep them coming. Michael, hi. This sounds really useful. I especially like the 5 leadership mindsets. Yeah, me too. But he says it's also very daunting. So where do I start, basically?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Good question. And it is daunting. Being a leader is daunting. When we all set out and say, I want to run my own business, I want to be an entrepreneur, I don't think many of us say what I want to be first and foremost is a leader, and then I'll work out what business I want. The leadership comes as part of the overall package, doesn't it? And it is daunting. I suspect, Michael, you might have submitted that question before I got onto that self-assessment worksheet, because that is the answer to this one. Yeah, ask us on the exit survey. Ask us for that worksheet. Take that worksheet. Be honest. Be true. Answer it, and let that target tell you where the starting points need to be. Now, from then on, you either can identify with that and understand it. Maybe you can use the mindsets, maybe you can use the people around you, or maybe you can come to us and say, look, here's where I am. Perhaps I didn't expect to get these results. Perhaps I wasn't aware of this, but I definitely need help. And where do I go from here? But I would say that self-assessment sheet there, if you can be true answering that, is the starting point. And at some point after that, dependent on your own results, we would probably start to have a look at, okay, from a leader's point of view, do you understand what your own vision and goals are? And that's the path we would normally tread down. And I would ask you, if you can, not to be daunted beyond that, because it's all about putting cornerstones in place first. The problem sometimes is that there's too much else to take on board on a day-to-day basis, and that blurs our focus for getting the fundamentals in place.
Thanks, Steve. Here's a good one from Rohib. Can you tell me a little bit more about a one-man band company wearing 10 hats? Sounds difficult.
Yeah. So we've also seen one of those one-man bands where they've got cymbals on the knees and a mouth organ and all the rest of it. Does it ever feel like that when you're running your own business? Or did it ever feel like that when you first set out? The thing, when me and Steve when Steve and I were discussing this, about talking about leadership lessons, the thing is, it's very easy for those of us in more established business to picture some of the attributes that we talked about today. So we see ourselves as a leader. Yes, we are. We're a manager or we're a director in a firm, and there are people who work in our firm, and we understand that word leadership, management, or whatever that we use to control the business. Where it's less clear is where you're a one-man band, or even perhaps 1, 2, or 3, but what we might call a micro company. The point I'm trying to make is that even if you are a one-man band, your company still needs all them roles of you. The 10 I run through. So it needs leadership, it needs direction, it needs strategy at the top. It then needs all the operational elements. You know, you might be a plumber or electrician and you say, no, what I need to be is an electrician. Well, actually, no, you need to be so much more than that. You need to direct your firm. You need to be the electrician technically, but you need to understand what the finance and admin and technology is behind the business that you need to use. These roles still exist, and that's why it can often be very daunting. But you can only grow, or you can only succeed in that role if you realize that you are actually now wearing all those 10 hats and doing all those functions. And whilst it's not applicable to absolutely everybody, the vast majority of people realize they can only move forward in that role once they understand what a leader is and how to delegate or outsource or employ, or whatever the particular strategy that you choose is. But once you take some of those roles away from yourself to free up your most valuable asset, which of course is your own time. I hope that explains it a little bit more. If you are running your own company, then I understand this is incredibly daunting, but you can't move on until at least you see that picture. And of course, I can talk to you on a one-to-one basis in a lot more detail if you want to know how you might actually deal with that concept.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. And finally, from Katie, how do I get a copy of the all-bed mindset that you showed us?
Oh, fantastic question. I love that. Yeah. Okay. So, Katie, I'll flip back. I don't know if you can do a screenshot or a snip, is it called? Just bear with me. There you go. You can do a snip of the screen there. I don't know if you're able to do that, but by all means, put it in the comments on your survey screen. We'll get a PDF sent out to you as well. I'd love to think that could be shared to every business owner, but quite quite honestly. No problem at all.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, absolutely. I keep meaning to get that blown up and put on our boardroom wall. I haven't quite got round to it yet, but that is so powerful. Good. Okay, so that's the end of the questions, and we're coming to the end of the webinar. Next webinar won't be in August. We're going to give you a break in August, so hopefully you can get away, get a break and a holiday. I'm certainly going to be doing that. So the next webinar will be on Wednesday, the 22nd of September, same time, 11:30. Of course, we'll be in touch with you about that, but you can put it in your diaries now. All that remains to say from me is thank you, everybody, for attending today. That's been great. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the weather, and we'll see you soon. Steve?
Well, nothing else to add from that other than goodbye from me as well. Thank you for your time this afternoon, everybody. Yeah, enjoy your summer and enjoy the current good weather we've got. Thanks very much all for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.